Howdy, my name is Bethany Rogers and this is my COM 340 Section 500 midterm, and it is titled The Effects of Magazines on Pop Culture Today. I will be discussing Chapter 5, Magazines, because I feel that it relates with my childhood and a sense of creativity that I formed when I was young. Two of the main points that I found within the text for this chapter was that magazines reflect pop culture through their content, and that magazines also form pop culture through their content. And I saw three different examples of this throughout the text of ways that they reflect and form, ways that they form, and ways that they reflect. So a way that magazines both reflect and form pop culture through their content is through increased space within the magazine in comparison to different media forms like newspapers. I found a way that magazines form popular culture through their content is through advertiser influence. And I found that magazines also reflect pop culture content through niches within different specializations, so different types of magazines that market to different groups. So, ways that this resonated with me. So, as you can see, I created magazines in 2014 when I was about 12 years old. So I made many different editions, and I would just cut snippets out of magazines that I would get from the store, and I would create my own stories, fake advertisement, polls. I would color, cut, glue, everything, and it was a great creative outlet for me personally. So for one, I have seen how magazines reflect the niche interests of groups, and that resonates with me because I would read the magazines that I would cut different snippets out of them for these, my own homemade magazines. And I would read those magazines that were real from the store, and I would see what kids my age and preteens my age were interested in and what we liked to read. So that was a great influence when I was young, of seeing different niche types of magazines and different niche types of media in general. Secondly, through increased space within magazines, I found creativity in crafting stories. So I would write stories within my magazines, of course, many fictional, but it was a great creative outlet for me and for my writing and for my development. And so that resonates with me deeply because it was a great form of creativity for me. And I love seeing how magazines, through increased space, have the ability as a creative outlet even now for writers who want to convey stories. Lastly, through advertising within magazines, I have seen from a young age how to market to an ideal crowd. So for the magazines that I made when I was young, I would make fake advertisements within my magazines, and I would base these off of the advertisements in the real magazines that I bought, and those would be reflected by things that were marketed to preteens my age. So I learned how to market to an ideal crowd, the crowd that you're selling to, at a young age, and we see that today within influencer marketing. So it's a great skill to know, and I'm glad that I learned it young. In 50 years, I believe magazines will be viewed very differently. I do believe that they will no longer serve as a source of new information for people or a source of product information for people, but I believe that they will serve as a form of decoration and something that is thrifty, retro, whatever you might call it. I believe that they will just be a cool statement in someone's home or within someone's space. And I believe that the editorial style of photography is heading this front because it is a retro, thrifty, cool style of photography that I believe will ultimately lead to magazines being a decoration and not a media source. Thank you for listening.